In this video, I'll show you my approach to formatting an Excel sheet to look like the W4 form. So I'm just going to copy it straight off of the PowerPoint slide on Canvas. Go over to a new sheet in Excel, paste, and we'll move it down a little bit. And my approach is going to be to adjust the column widths to kind of line up with some of these major margins or boundaries. I don't know what we want to call these, but cells almost on the W4. So let's make a blank column here with A, and normally I wouldn't adjust column width with the mouse, but here, since it's so manual, I think the mouse is appropriate. So I'm going to move the second column to capture those numbers, 1, 5, 6, and 7, and then the next one to line up these lines of text here for the address and some instructions. I'm going to widen column D a little bit to match up with that line right here. And we'll widen column E and F and so on. Now I hope that as I work through this sheet, things will fall into place a little bit better with these column widths adjusted. So I'm going to start at the top and just start typing lines of text. I wish I would have added an extra column here, so I'm going to Control Space and then Control Shift Plus to get that extra column. And then I'll narrow the new one, narrow the old one, and that should get me back where I started. And I can't find a symbol for that closed-in triangle. I'm going to use the greater than sign, but it's going to think I'm talking about math, so I'm going to start with a single quote and then use the greater than sign, and go back to typing. Right here is where I ran into a problem. We can come back and adjust these font sizes and row heights and things like that, but I can't get these two in the same cell. We could use Alt-Enter to wrap them and then still have this 2019 work. So the way I'm going to make that work is I'm going to select all 4 of those cells, and this is the first time I've done this in years, but I'm actually going to come in here and merge these cells. And I think it's the appropriate thing to do here. Now let's play with some font sizes. The first thing I'd like to do, you can move that over one, cut and paste, is center across the selection. So I'm going to highlight the cells. This text is all in B1, but I'm going to hit Control 1, alignment, come down to center across selection, and notice it centers across those cells. That's a much better practice than this command up here of merge and center, because like I say, merging cells can get dangerous. And then I think if we make that bold, it's going to look quite a bit like we want it to. We might want to increase the font size by 1. So Alt H F G, I think that's probably for font growth. And that now row 1 looks a lot like the top of our form. For form W4, I'm going to hit F2 and highlight just W4, and I'm going to cheat and use the mouse a little bit and grow that font size. In fact, I'm going to hit Control B for bold and then grow that font size a little bit more. And I hope that when I hit enter, probably one too many, it grows the row height as well. We can center this employees withholding allowance. I'm going to cut it, paste it here, center it across the selection with Control 1, Alt H, down arrow. Make it bold with Control B, and then I'm going to cheat again and grow that font size until it matches. That looks pretty close. This one looks pretty good. I'm going to center it across the selection as well. Control 1, Alt H, down arrow. And then I think these fonts are a little bit big, so we'll grab the mouse and reduce that by a couple of clicks, maybe 3. I don't know, I think maybe, let's go with 8.5. I'll type that in here. 8. These need to be bold and smaller. Let's go with 10 on that. And that 2019. I had a hard time finding a font that looked like this, but I'll leave that to you guys to try. I'm just going to hit bold and grow the font size a little bit. I center it across the selection with these two buttons. And I think we're close. Okay, so I think we're down to the section where we'll start doing our first name and address. Let's type in some data there. Okay, you'll notice I didn't have any boxes to put in there. There are ways we could draw check boxes, but I'd really like to stay away from drawing items on this sheet because it's going to make it messy. Let's go see if we can find a symbol to insert there. So we'll double click on that, select that. We want to replace it with a symbol. So Alt-IS will pull up these symbols to choose from, and I'm going to scroll through and look for an open square. I found an open square under geometric shapes. Might have been smarter to look at that list first. So I can double click on it, or I can just hit insert and I can close. And then what I'd like to do is shift left arrow and Control C to copy. And then we'll come over here and replace these others with Control V. And that's a much more elegant way than drawing some kind of a box in there. I wish I had a nice closed-in triangle for this one and for this one, but I couldn't. Maybe you can find it. I'm going to adjust some font sizes now. Okay, I think the fonts are close, and all we have left for this part of the form is borders. And I'm going to repeatedly use this shortcut Alt-H-B-M for Alt Home Borders More, I think. That's the only way I've found to get to this thicker border, and it seems to work well. So the thick one, here I'm going to put it on the right and say OK. And then I'm going to select these 3 cells and do a Control Y to redo that. And then I'm going to select these cells, doing HBM, select that thick one and put it on the bottom. Say OK. And then I'm going to select these and Control Y to repeat these, and Control Y to repeat, and these, and Control Y to repeat. Then let's come over here on last name, Alt-HBM, and this time we'll put the thick one on the left side. I could click in this box, or I could also just click that button to put one on the left side. I could tab around with the keyboard, but this is one of those places where the mouse is better. Let's come over here, select those 2 cells and Control Y to repeat. and select these 4 cells and Control Y to repeat. Not quite sure what happened there, so I'm going to HVM and fix that bottom one. And now I think we're pretty close on this one. We would probably like to get these cells. I'm going to hit Shift F8, and these cells, Shift F8, and these cells. So those are the ones we want to shade. And I'm going to cheat again and just choose that blue with the mouse. And now I think our spreadsheet looks a lot like our form. Hopefully the GA would give us decent credit for that one. And I just keep that same approach up as I work down the sheet. I think the rest of it is a lot like everything we've done so far. So hopefully that helps on the formatting part of the assignment.